Hello and good evening to all of you, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Global Event. And all my target audience, they already are aware of this, the kind of session usually we have in Global Event. And today again, we are going to have some exciting session. Uh, and today I am your host, Manali Chaudhary Sengupta. Essentially, I look after NDLI Club, and as you all know that from this platform, NDLI platform, we have this global event in association with Wills Global Foundation. And today's topic is really, really very interesting. As you all can see, it is appearing in our screen, a future-proof career code. So the name, itself, it's so interesting. So we know that some engaging session is waiting ahead. But before we begin with the session, let me give you a very quick look at National Digital Library of India. So the very name suggests that it's a learning repository. So National Digital Library of India, the concept came from one nation, one library. So this was the concept. Uh, and you can see in the genesis that how we have began our journey, that it's a national knowledge set. It serves to function as a key driving force for education, research, innovation, and knowledge. And it is a single window platform providing learning resources that make e-learning and education accessible to all, and bringing to user of all demographic and digital boundaries from India and the world and abroad. Initiated as a pilot project in 2015, so this is our 10th year. We are in the this research project, and now this is the first, second, and third phase we are running into. And NDLI portal was launched in 2018, and a very short glimpse on NDLI. Total content 13 crore. We have now it is available in our portal, and contents from 450 providers. They are providing us the content. User we have 94 lakh set up, almost 7,000 clubs across India. Contents are available in 39 Indian languages out of 423 languages in NDLI, and searching available in 14 Indian languages, and contents covering various subjects, disciplines for different educational level. Currently provide cloud hosting facility to 31 institutions, and we are offering this service to them. Remote assistance to 150 plus institutions having challenges with IDEA, and conducts engagement program about NDLI and NDLI Club IDEA service through free workshop, that we are giving this sort of the expert trainings, workshops, and talks and webinars. And more than 3,000 library professionals have been trained in 33 IDEA workshops. So the figure is really huge. And now the NDLI Club, this is our another service that NDLI is providing. So it's an online platform for conducting learning oriented activities, different sort of activities one school or college can organize here. And the main objective, it is very much aligned with NEP 2020. The entire concept began since NEP 2020. So initiate to promote the culture of reading and learning using NDLI's vast resources. NDLI Club is an online platform for conducting learning oriented activities. So this is essentially a platform where you can create, conduct, and contribute. So this is the whole idea. And students enhance their core competence and sharpen their skill, personality traits here by participating in different sort of activities. And NDLI Club, as you can see the figure, 6,700 plus clubs already we are done, and in the pipeline almost 200 clubs are there in the pipeline across India. And this is the total figure. Number of user awareness we have conducted so far 800 plus. Number of offline workshops 75 plus we have done. International workshops we have done 3, and in the November we are going to have another international workshop from NDLI. And national workshops we have done 5, and IDEA workshops we have done 32 to 33. So this is the entire figure, and you can see these are the awards and accolades we have received in different time. from different places. So as you can see, WSA winner 2021, that was for NDLI. And then very recently we have got this James of Digital Award, both in 2019 and 2024 also we have received this. So these are the awards, accolades we received from different platforms. So our main motto is to learn, share, and grow together. So this is all about NDLI and NDLI Club. And now I know the most awaited part of the session is, the you all are waiting for. So I will hand over this session to Sujata Roy, madam. I always feel very privileged whenever I get the chance to introduce madam in this session, because she is the key person. She plays a very pivotal role here. So she will take over this session. But before she begins, let me introduce Sujata in this platform. So MSc in Physics from IIT Kharagpur. Post graduation she has done in computer science from Indian Statistical Institution, Kolkata, ISI Kolkata, CQA from Quality Assurance Institute, USA. Spent most of her career in the corporate IT sector, working with various private and multinational organizations till she finally retired from IBM as a general manager. After retirement, she has been actively involved in various IIT alumni activities as well as voluntary activities to give back to the society and the nation at large. And currently, the president of Wheels Global Foundation India and a board member. She has also served as the chief operating officer of NDLI for 8 long years. So, Sujata Di, now this platform and then entire session is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manali, for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. I feel really privileged to be introducing the speaker for our today's session, Mr. Obhijit Roy, who really deserves an applaud by his own merit. Obhijit has spent over a quarter of a century in the information technology industry in leadership roles at PwC, IBM, Wipro, and Ericsson. His primary role in Wipro and Ericsson has been that of a technology explainer in artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, 5G, and generative AI. Obhijit is presently engaged in developing thought leadership initiatives for Praxis Technology School and Praxis Business School, in addition to leading their social media brand positioning strategies. He is also a member of the Expert Committee on Innovation, Technology and Advancement of the Indian Chamber of Commerce, and which has brought us together again, me being also a member of that committee. So, welcome to our today's session, Mr. Obhijit Roy, and we do welcome to listening to you and getting some insights on, if I may say, the very buzzword of the market as of now, which is AI or artificial intelligence. Okay. Before moving on, here is a message for the audience. All of you who, as we go along the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in a chat box so that after his talk, the speaker can answer your questions. With that, let's get back to the main session, that is designing a future-proof career code.
Thank you, Sujata, for that wonderful introduction. Would you like to say something? You feel that you should introduce.
Yeah, I was just thinking, when I'm looking at the topic and looking at the audience that we have here, the first question that comes to my mind is, in the last couple of years, we have been witnessing unprecedented levels of career disruptions. Even technology careers are no longer safe. Now, what do today's younger people do when they are entering their workshop or they begin a career to build resilience against this environment? That's something I would like to know from you.
Great question, great intro, and it really sets the tone for the whole thing. And I see this all around me. this sense of apprehension, the sense of excitement at the same time, both happening at the same time. We are apprehensive, we are excited, we are uncertain. Uncertainty is the word. But we have always been uncertain throughout our careers. If you remember, Sujata, our careers have met quite a few times, in the past, and uncertainty has been with us for many, many years, whether it was the Y2K, the dot-com burst, the 2008 financial meltdown, the COVID-19. So, I mean, when have we not been uncertain? This is something that's been with us all our lives. So I don't feel that something new is happening, but yet. So let me begin by asking a question to the audience, and feel free, anybody can answer it. Even the people, the excellent team which has organized it, they are also feel. Tell me something that weighs only 3 ounces, that is 1.3 kilograms, uses only 20 watts of power, the power that is almost like the LED lamp that we use in our rooms. Okay? And yet it is the most complex piece of machinery. What is that? What is this complex piece of machinery that weighs only 1.3 kilograms? So, I see Manali wants to
Yes,
have
I'm
a stab
just
at it.
giving it a try. It may be the answer, but I'm not sure. Is it our brain? Because of the
Yes,
weight, I am guessing.
yes, absolutely right. The brain is mostly made
That's
up of
it.
fat. You know, my fat is accumulating near my waistline, so I do not know whether it's coming from. Anyway, uh, so anyway, so yes. Now, why that is very important, this piece of the world's most complex machinery, which we have not been able to find out how it is wired, yet, and it weighs only just 1.3 kilograms, uses 20 watts of power, and yet it does amazing things. Design AI itself, things that is dazzling us has come out from this brain, not from my brain, but from brains like people like Sujata, who has done a lot of things in her life, and she's done ISI, so which is one of the most powerful institutions in the world, that has produced the finest brains in statistics, which is the base for AI and things like that.
Ooh.
So, so let's launch into the presentation. So, and what is the future of technology? So let's look at it. If we are thinking of a career, so if you watch that film, I don't remember the film exactly, but it was a Clint Eastwood film. Clint Eastwood, the guy from Good, Bad, Ugly, and a lot of other movies, the the cowboy movies that he made famous. So he was trying to train a girl to shoot straight. So what he said is that, and the girl was missing the target. So what he said is that don't aim for where things are, aim for where it will be, you know so let's aim for where things will be. We'll not aim to shoot at where things are, because the target is a moving target. So let's try to have a glimpse of the future. It's very difficult for a glimpse of the future. What is going to happen? So I have selected 5 technologies here to talk about, but there'll be more than 5. So this is not an exhaustive list, but I'll give you some kind of a timeline for these technologies. Quantum computing that comes first to my mind. The computing that we are doing now, the age of bits and atoms, are going to change in another 5 years from now, 2029 to be precise, almost. That's the timeline that we have from the development work that's going on. That's quantum computing. It's changed from bits to qubits. Now, what are qubits? Qubits are fascinating things. It's to do with quantum mechanics. Now, I'm not going to talk about quantum mechanics. I'm not the person to at all qualified to talk about it. Even Richard Feynman, the Nobel laureate physicist, said that, everybody says that they understand quantum mechanics. He's lying. So I don't want to be a liar. But to give you a brief glimpse as to what is happening, why should bits change to qubits? Qubits have a strange property. Bits are either plus or minus, 0 or
One.
not, or 1.
One.
Qubits are 0 and 1 at the same time. So there are lots of possibilities. Qubits covered a lot of possibilities from 0 to 1. So while the classical computing looks at either this possibility or that possibility, two possibilities, 0 or 1, qubits look at a range of possibilities, millions of possibilities between zeros and ones. And that gives them a tremendous power. So while classical computing will attack a problem from one after the others, I mean, checking out things one after the other, qubits will check out things simultaneously, check out all the possibilities simultaneously. So that is going to be transformative. Now, how it will be transformative? So, for instance, take a look at the medical research. While we research for drugs, now these clinical trials can go on for a decade or more. So to bring out a new medicine, it takes 10-15 years of research, because the classical computing keeps trying one option after the other. But in a qubit world, in a quantum world, it will try all options together. Okay, so what happens is that what takes a decade or more than a decade can be crunched into months, weeks, or even days. So can you imagine how quickly we can, bring out new drugs that will treat the untreatable diseases that we have now, like say for instance cancer, Alzheimer's, lots of other things can happen. And the flip side is that it can use this brute force of trying everything at the same time to unlock the most unbreakable cyber code or your passcode. So your passcode is no longer safe. So, but at the same time, those who want to keep it safe, they're trying quantum cryptography. So they're trying to use the same quantum theories to handle that, to create an unbreakable or nearly unbreakable code. While the malicious actors are trying to break the code using quantum, so that's what it is. Quantum can also change how we financial transactions. They can decide on where to invest or where to get out or where to exit. It's faster than the fastest machines today. So that's where quantum is going to lead us. Teleportation, and that will happen. That what is teleportation? All people of my age, we grew up reading comics, Mandrake comics. In Mandrake, we had tridim projection, three-dimensional projection, where somebody from sitting in London could be projected to be standing in Kolkata at the same time. So teleport. Why? Because this is a quality of qubit, is that even if the two qubits is separated by a distance, they behave in the same fashion. If you change one, the other changes the same way. So that will make quantum teleportation possible. Okay, so that means not exactly the physical body will be transformed, but certain properties can be transformed, where that opens up huge possibilities. The other thing that has already started happening, and mind you, this is if you look at the IBM quantum computing roadmap, okay, you will find that this will be possible, not teleportation, but quantum, having qubits, 100 qubit machines or 1,000 qubit machines. The target date is 2029, which is just 4 years from now. That is 48 months from now. Just imagine that will be possible. Okay. Now let's look at convergence of screens. You've been watching, the advertisements that's flowing out is the Meta glasses, the Meta sunglasses, okay, that makes you look smart. But at the same time, it will eliminate the meta glasses or the smart glasses that will come in the next 6 months to a year now. That will eliminate three screens: the computer screen, the laptop screen, the telephone, the mobile phone screen, and the laptop screen. So all these screens will merge into, or the television screen also. So what will you will have? You will wear a glass like this, an ordinary glass. So you can take phone calls. You don't have to flip out your phone and answer it. You can answer calls, take calls. You can make calls. The screen will become 200-inch television screen in front of you. You don't have to envy your neighbor, who has got a 65-inch screen paying 2.5 lakhs. You can have a 200-inch screen in front of you, your private screen. Okay, you can have the laptop screen in front of you with a keyboard, with augmented virtual reality keyboard that you can operate from anywhere. These convergence of screens will happen. But the social flip side is that it will make us more isolated from each other. You know, I will be sitting in my room watching my own screen. My wife will be sitting next to me watching her screen. My daughter will be sitting watching her own screen. So four of us will no longer bond over the same screen. Okay, so somebody will watch the cricket match, somebody will watch a football match, somebody will watch tennis. So we'll be no longer bonding. That is a flip side. Or maybe we also can share screens with our own glasses. Okay. The next thing is that we happen is this year is that human computer interfaces, neural computing. Elon Musk has already implanted the chip in human brain. The experiment is on. So human computer interfaces is going to be very, very important. Imagine a man who has been paralyzed, a person who's been paralyzed will be able to operate a computer through his brains. So human machine interfaces will change dramatically. Autonomous robots, we are already seeing it, but they're not fully autonomous as yet. You go to YouTube and watch any video of a automobile factory. There used to be thousands of workers sometime back, but today, if you see those videos, there'll be a single robotic arm fitting things without the help of any. I don't know why this presentation has moved away. Uh, can you? Yeah. Okay. Fine. I don't want to see my face. Okay. So, yeah. So says robots will be autonomous robots will become smarter. They are not yet smart enough. It cannot. If I throw a ball, it won't be able to catch it. Okay. It still doesn't have the dexterity of human fingers. It cannot tie a shoelace. So there are things that it still cannot do. That's why I talked about the human brain. There are lots of things that the human brain enables us to do, which machines are still not able to do. And that is our great opportunity, which we will talk throughout the presentation. My next slide will be, we're actually, uh, about 150 years, 100, yeah, almost 150 years, Charles Dickens wrote a book. It was called The Tale of Two Cities. I read it, in school, not 150 years ago, but a few years ago, I read it in my school. It was there. It was The Tale of Two Cities. The first sentence has stuck with me ever since, many years ago. It is the best of times and the worst of times. That's what he started with. Today, it is as much as applicable as it was when it was written 150 years ago. He was writing about industrial age London, England. Okay, we are in the best of times and worst of times. Best of times is because we have all these amazing technologies happening all around us. It enables us to do new things. It unlocks our imagination. It frees us to imagine and make the imagination come true. But we are living in the worst of times. It is making us too dependent on some of these technologies. We are living in the attention economy. What is the attention economy? There is so much of information flowing in from all kinds of things, and a lot of it fake information. That everything is vying for our attention. So attention has become a scarce commodity. It has become a precious and scarce commodity. So whenever you're preparing something, like I prepared this presentation, I was actually vying for the audience attention, and therefore I had to think a lot, work alongside Sujata to craft and design this presentation so that I can grab your attention. Mind you, young people who are listening to this is the economy that you have entered. This is the attention economy. Attention is the most scarce commodity. It's the most precious commodity. And therefore, whatever you do, you are vying for attention. Think through it. So this is why I say that we are in the best of times and we are in the worst of times. Let's look at the industrial revolution that we are currently in. What started off about 150 200 years ago was when we moved from an agricultural economy, the world moved from an agricultural economy to a steam engine led economy. Okay, so steam engines took over, railroads came into being. So today, the internet is or AI, artificial intelligence, is compared to what the railroad was 150 or 130 years ago. That transformed things. Railroad transformed things. Economies grew. Okay. Now the question is whether people benefit, or a lot of people benefited from it, but was the benefit concentrated in the hands of a few? Yes, railroad owners, those who laid the lines, they became rich. Did the industrial worker also become rich? That's a question that is still hanging in the air. The answer, my friend, is lying in the wind. Then we moved on to the second industrial age, which is the age of electricity. So steam was moving things. Instead of steam, that was a driver of power. Instead of steam, we had electricity. And from I'll move fast because we have a lot of ground to cover. And then we became into the electronic systems. Okay, so electricity to electronics. That was the third industrial revolution. And in the fourth industrial revolution that we are currently in now, we are in the cyber physical device system. From electronics to cyber physical. What are cyber physical devices? But physical devices have given cyber powers. Okay, so that is the age that we are currently in. Let's take for an example of what is a cyber physical device. Take an example of a car today. A car today has almost 60 to 70% electronics. Okay, as much as it has mechanical moving parts, it has electronic parts, from the doors to the windows to the machine information. Today, if I pick up my phone, I can see the status of my car in my phone. I can see everything, my performance and everything in the how the driving was, everything that's there. So a physical device like a card is embedded with electronics. So it becomes a cyber physical device. Take for example IoT. You go to a machine. If you go to a shop floor, a factory, machines are embedded with sensors. So the performance of a machine is constantly being reflected in a digital screen, and the operator can anticipate where it can go wrong and make changes. For instance, in the same thing in the car, I got a message the other day from the workshop, from Maruti's workshop. I have a very humble car, a Baleno, but even that is connected to the Maruti system and the Suzuki system. And the system warned me that there are certain things that I need to change because it is likely to wear out in the next 6 months. So it's better that I change now, or else I might get stuck on a road. You hardly see any automobile stuck on a road these days. Remember those days when we had ambassadors and other cars? Very frequently we saw cars with the bonnet open and the driver or whosoever was driving it with his head stuck inside the engine. You no longer see that. Whenever it rained, we saw kids pushing your car, but we no longer see that. Why do we no longer see that? Because we are anticipating how things are going to change, and we are taking predictive maintenance. So. This is the revolution that we are in. We'll come back. We'll revisit the industrial revolutions and see how it dovetails or connects with the discussion that we are having. So let's see what happened in the last 24 months, 24, a little bit more than. So we moved from BC to AD. What is BC? The era was BC is not before Christ or AD Anno Domino. BC is before ChatGPT. The world before ChatGPT. The world before ChatGPT, November 2022. I think it was 30th November 2022 when ChatGPT was launched. In another 15-20 days, I took a paid subscription of it to see what it can do. So the world changed. Everyone started. AI was something, it was there far away from us. It was in the realm of techies, the nerds, people like Sujata with statistical background. They understood it's their world. It was not my world. It was not your world. It's like Alibaba's cave. It opened up an enormous amount of possibilities. AI came to our fingertips. We could open it in our phones, we could open it in our computers, we could open it up, and it let us do a lot of things. You could ask questions, it could write to us, it could answer questions, it could write poems, it could write music, it could create movies, it could create pictures. Fascinating. December 2023, Gemini came in, another huge leap forward. And 2025, let's say 2025, January 2025, DeepSeek was launched. So this is AD, after DeepSeek. What was DeepSeek? DeepSeek, the LLM model, the large language model from China, transformed a lot of things. They showed the world how it is possible to even create something with far less computing power, far less training power, and yet come up with a solution that was more powerful than the ChatGPT. This is the switch that happened from US innovation that happened to Chinese innovation. Now, this is something that's going to be very, very important. We see a world in shift. The shifting world is that China today has more than 50% of the world's patents in technology. More than 50, half of patents belongs to China. After Second World War, we saw something very interesting. It was called the Operation Paperclip. What happened was in Operation Paperclip is that the US government allowed a lot of German scientists. Germany had lost the war. The scientists didn't know what to do, but they were very, very intelligent scientists. Einstein was a German Jew, a scientist. So the US allowed these scientists and technical people to flow into US, come to US, get a new passport, get a new life. And they powered the US revolution, technological innovation, space research exploded in US. Lots of things happened. The German V2 rocket became Apollo. Okay, the V2 was on trial at the last stages of World War II. Before it was put into action, the world had ended. Okay, now the same thing is happening today. There's an exodus of American intelligence, US intelligence, flowing into Asia, flowing into Europe. I see this as the era. The next century will belong to Asia, and we are in Asia. And this is our huge opportunity. This is going to happen. This has already started happening. The center of gravity is moving towards Asia. You will see countries like Thailand, Indonesia. China is already there, but you'll see smaller countries like Thailand, Indonesia, many other countries coming up powerfully. India is already there, but it will become even more powerful. So this is going to happen. And this has already started happening. And democratization of technology, AI and things, technologies like these, which were in the realms of the people who understood and who were technical people, has now opened up to you and me. We can write codes. We can do vibe coding. We'll come back to that later on in our slides. The next, so what has happened is that since then, since between January, 2022 to 2025, between AD to BC, BC to AD or whatever it is, there's a plethora of LLMs that have come into being. You have Gemini, you have DeepSeek, you have Claude, you have Grok, you have Web3, you have Manus AI, what not? I have subscribed to at least 3 or 4 of them. And it takes a lot of money. So, but this, and each is good at something which the others is not. So you have to do an experimentation, and you'll find that it is only through constant experimentation, constant use, and continuous learning. Continuous learning will be very, very important for every one of you to stay relevant. We will come to that. So this is very important. You now have the power of technology on your fingertips, in your laptops, in your mobile screens, okay, in your desktops. It's there around you, and for you to use it. Okay, and this is going to be, proliferating all over the place. Sujata, I mean, would you like me to go on, or do you have anything you want to ask?
Yeah, sure, Abhijit. Um, Now that you took us through this transition from Industry 1.0 to Industry 4.0, where we are, and this proliferation of LLMs, which is making a huge difference all over, there are some questions that are coming into my mind. For example, this code automation seems to be taking over the industry by storm. Business users are no longer dependent on technology teams to build their websites or even to write codes. But how effective are these no code or low code platforms? Can anyone and everyone start to use them? And then what kind of outcomes can we expect from these platforms?
Once again, a great question and a very profound one. Takes me a lot of time to think the answer. Actually, I have started using no code platforms and also low code platforms, and I don't know anything about coding. My skills are primarily language. Primarily, I come from a journalism background, so and technology explainer background. I've used my journalism skills to demystify a lot of things, and to moved into the realm of technology, trying to demystify technology for everybody uses. So I started using these platforms to see for myself, can I, as a non-technical person, use it, a business user? Now, in PricewaterhouseCoopers, in Ericsson, in IBM, where we work together, we had a development team which would create websites. So they had coders, they had designers, they had content people. Okay, they have architects, solution architects. So all these different roles had to be gathered together. You have UX guys. UX is user experience. You have UI guys, which is user interface. So somebody asked me, what is the difference between a UX and a UI, user experience and user interface? So I interviewed a girl once, and I asked her this question for the technology team. So she looked at me. She was from National Institute of Design. She looked at me, and she's still my friend and working in PricewaterhouseCoopers now. And she looked at me for a long time. For 30 seconds, she didn't say anything. She just smiled and said that, "Would you mind if I said something which may not be politically correct?" I said, "No, no, go ahead." So she said, user interfaces that when I meet a prospective boyfriend at a shopping mall or a coffee. So I look at him, I look at his attire. Is he well dressed? Does he smell nice? Does he talk well? So if that's the quality of a gentleman. So you dress well, you smell well. I mean, you have put perfume,
Okay.
and you talk well.
Okay.
So that is user interface. Now, user experience is, if I at all get married to this man, and I find that he forgets to flush the toilet, so then that becomes user experience. So I hope it's clear. Anyway, that explanation stayed in my mind. So I started using these no-code platforms. I'm sorry for that diversion, but I started using these no-code platforms, and I found a very simple. I had actually done a video, but because of the technical challenges that we have, I cannot show you the video. But what I had done is that I had taken a website, the URL of a website, and the design of which I did not like. I put it in one of these tools, the LLM tools. I put it in Perplexity and asked it, and I also simultaneously took the URL of another website which I liked. Okay, and I said that this is the website I don't like. I want this website to look like the website that I like, the URL which I shared both URLs, what I didn't like and what I liked. And I said, can you make necessary changes to the code so that this website which I disliked will look like the one that I liked? It made the changes. It made the changes and said that it wrote the Python code. Okay. and said that this is the code that will help you to transition from the website that you don't like to the website that you like. So I said, can you visualize? The next question is that, can you visualize it? Can you make it look like the one that I like? He said, yes, of course. And it created an entire visual here. This is where it created an entire visual. This slide here, this is the entire visual. So just imagine, earlier it would have taken me an entire team of designers, content creators, HTML
Coders.
coders, HTML coders, and a whole heap of software, hardware, and you remember we had this. We used to run a code and leave it throughout the night to do its work, and in the morning only we got the result. You remember those days, of course, when codes took a long time to run because machines were slow. The compute power wasn't there. Now, today, it just took me about 45 seconds, less than a minute, for this to be transformed to something from what I liked, didn't like, to transform to something which I liked, and also visualize it. And it also pointed out the codes the places where I need to make the changes, the code changes, so that I got the outcome that I desired. Now imagine, this is the power of no-code platforms. Now, don't make the mistake that everybody will be able to use it. Everybody will not be able to use it. People with domain knowledge will be able to use it. Why? This is where things happen. Because it hallucinates. These platforms hallucinate a lot. What I told you was a simplified version of the process. But in between, it had made a lot of mistakes. Now, I could make out the areas where it was making mistakes because I had the experience of working with technology people in this same process. Okay. We had created websites together, we had created solutions together, we had architected solutions together. So I knew exactly, what I wanted and where it was falling short. It was not meeting the requirements. So I kept on asking it, kept on whipping it, okay, and saying that change this, change that. So there is no one shot, instruction that it will deliver this. You will need domain knowledge. If you have the right domain knowledge, and if you have a command over English, the language these tools understand, or Chinese even, they understand Chinese very well. So today, English is the language of code. You've got to write, you've got to explicit. See, human beings learn things in two ways. One is explicit knowledge, where you get straightaway instructions, and the other is tacit knowledge. We'll come to that a little later. But you have to get very, very precise instructions to these platforms to get the outcome that you desire. Now, this is where the challenge happens. Now, once you get that, if you can crack that code, you have a wonderful outcome before you. But to do that, you will need to have domain understanding. So let me move on to the next slide. So let's understand where the future is moving. So let's go to the future forward. So I'll give you some predictions. So this is the image of a quantum computer. I live in Salt Lake in West Bengal, Kolkata, in the eastern suburbs. It used to be marshy, salty land. Now it's become very important and very modern. And just about 10 kilometers from, not even 10, 8 kilometers from where I am, there's a company. I'll not name the company because I don't want to promote them. So they have a 1 qubit machine. And the image that you see here, I have seen the quantum computer at function there. So this is going to happen. Next generation holographic communication will happen, which we talked about in the earlier slide. The transformation from one place to another that will happen. Holographic avatars. It will significantly reduce the cost of transportation. Employees from one place can travel to another. So work from home will have another lease of life if you have this transformation. This is the future forward. This is going to happen. Now, let's move on. But at the same time, while we do this, There's something that is very alarming, and as I said, that is the best of times and the worst of times. Why it is the worst of times? Let's go to something very interesting. This is called automation dependency. Whenever I teach in a data science college, okay, I teach data visualization, data analytics, etc. and and I find young people, and I find also not so young people, at every drop of a hat, they are resorting to LLM tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, all these tools for an answer. Okay, I find young people doing it very frequently. Now, this is creating an automation dependency. This is where things will fall through the cracks. This is why I say this is the worst of times. People are losing their cognitive capabilities. MIT did a study of brains of people who used LLMs and who did not use LLM tools. And they found that people who did not use LLM tools had better cognitive capabilities than those who did. Because
Yes.
this information dependency has become a very dangerous thing. We are the fortunate generation. Why? Because we have learned things, gone through an era when there were no mobile phones, where there were no laptops, where there was one black rotary dial phone, the black huge thing. There were no compute desk, laptops. There was one thick desktop, fat one. Okay, televisions were fat. They came with windows which you could close and lock also. So that era, and there was no internet also. That era forced us to learn things the hard way. If you remember, Sujata, we had to go to library, and in the process, if we are looking for one information, we went through different books, and we could gather other pieces of information also, which we were not looking for in the first place, but it also came to us. So a lot of tacit knowledge was happening around us. Tacit knowledge was very important. Today, what is happening is, what I see an alarming trend is that we are not going through this process of acquiring knowledge. We're just finding. So from search engines, from libraries, we move to the search engines, which is the Googles. And from search engines, we'll move to the answer engines. Today, it's no longer search engine optimization. It is answer engine optimization. The LLM tools gives you a curated answer to your question. So, are you going to lose your cognitive capabilities? Yes, there is a huge chance, a huge risk of people losing their cognitive capabilities if they do not apply the technologies to aid their abilities instead of start relying on them. If you start relying on it, this is called the children of the magenta line. It's a very interesting thing. You know, American Airlines identified this problem. It's called automation dependency. Why did it come into being was a very interesting incident, a very dangerous incident. So I will move on to my prompt screen. To I also have a prompt screen like some major leaders. So because I got my capacity is small, I can't remember a lot of things. So I try to. Okay. So the it's called it all happened during an Air France flight number 447 in 2009, June 1st, 2009. The flight started from Rio de Janeiro to Paris. Rio de Janeiro is in Brazil with 228 passengers on board. It encountered severe thunderstorm at high altitude. Ice crystals formed on the plane's pilot tubes, that is speed sensors, causing inconsistent airspeed readings and automatically disengaging the autopilot. Suddenly thrust into manual mode, a situation that pilots in very little practice with due to heavy reliance on automation, the crew mishandled the emergency. It was found that, you know, 95% of the time crews were using autopilots. So only 5% of the times they were actually navigating the airplane on their own, manual navigation. So this was a dangerous period. So the junior co-pilot who was at the controls instinctively pulled the nose of the plane up in response to a stall warning. Because ice cubes had formed, it started to pull up of correcting it. The proper procedure is to point the nose down to gain speed. Instead, he put it up. Confusion ensued in the cockpit. One pilot shouted, "Climb, climb, climb," while the captain later intervened, said, "No, no, no, don't climb." The aircraft entered a deep stall and plummeted 38,000 feet into the ocean in just over 4 minutes. Recently, we had a similar situation. Flight from Ahmedabad to London. Okay. Investigations by France's Bureau of Investigators and Analysis concluded that the pilot lacked sufficient training for high altitude manual climb and had become overly dependent on the autopilot, which disconnected without mechanical failure in the plane itself. The crash is often referenced in discussion of automation addiction, where pilot skills atrophy from underuse, making them ill-prepared for rare manual interventions. This story should be remembered by all of us who use technology. If you depend too much on technology, okay, then there's a danger that you will result in automation dependency. You'll become too much dependent and you will lose your cognitive capabilities. Therefore, we have entered into a very, very dangerous period. Very, very dangerous and risky period. I see this ease of doing things facilitated by the LLM models. We get dazzled by these models. And we think that because they can write your email, they can compose music, they can create a picture, they can do wonderful things. No, these are just mathematical models trained on massive amount of data to do these things. They are not thinking machines. They are not reasoning machines. Reasoning and thinking are only human capabilities and belongs to humans. This is very, very important. We use these terms. It's a marketing term actually, used by the developers like OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Meta. They use these terms. Apple, thinking, reasoning. These are anthropomorphic terms. They belong to humans. But when we apply them to machines, when we say a machine is a thinking model, we start thinking, oh my God, it can think on its own. No, it cannot think on its own. Trust me, it
So,
cannot think.
Abhijit,
Yes.
so now what you're saying and all this, the transformation that we see. So amidst all these transformative waves, how does the future look like? Like, what does today's younger generation, how do they build a future-proof careers in this environment?
True. Good question once again. So I told you what the future looks like, what are the possibilities, and I've also talked about what are the dangers, the flip sides of it. So let us see how do we navigate it. So we've covered the slide of so we move on to the fifth industrial revolution. So we started with the fourth industrial revolution. So we were here, the cyber physical systems. Now the fifth industrial revolution is the de-industrial revolution. We are going back to a human-centric, sustainable, and resilient future. We will soon realize that taking the humans out of the loop by going full-fledged, moving the pendulum towards entire automation has been a risky thing for us. I already see companies who are rehiring people who they had fired to be replaced by AI. Now these companies are rehiring them. KLM has rehired people. Okay, I see. There's another company. I forget the name of it immediately. Sorry, Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Okay, they were in the news that they had sacked 45 people in their HR department, and they had to rehire those HR people back because the roles that these people were playing, which they thought could be replaced by AI, needed empathy because it was human interaction. And they needed empathy, and machines are still not capable of empathy. Maybe one day they will, I do not know. And I know that then they will not be. Marketing hype says they will be. Why they will not be capable of, why machines will not be capable of doing things, and what should humans do? How we can stay resilient and future proof? Very important. You go back 2,400 years ago, around 450, 460 BC, when the Greek philosopher Plato was alive. He said something very important, very deeply important, but as always, he said it in very simple words and took us a lot of time to understand. We do not know how we know what we know. I spoke about the brain in the very beginning of the presentation. The human brain does not know how it knows what it knows. There are things that we know instinctively through tacit knowledge, not explicit knowledge. A child acquires knowledge of certain things about touching a thing which is hot and not touching it again through not explicit knowledge but tacit knowledge. A Polynesian child knows the surface of the ocean as if it is like reading a book. It can watch the waves and can say, this is where the currents are going to flow, this is where the fishes are going to be available. I can go there to fish. Nobody has taught him that. It looks at the skies and tell you when the thunderstorm is going to strike. That comes from humans' tacit knowledge. And that is something that will never be replaced. We will not know what we know and how we know that. A Saotal, a child, knows the forest like the back of his hand. He can say a lot of things about the plants, the leaves, the mountains, the rivers. The Indians, the original Native Americans, they knew about the land, they knew about the forests, they knew about the mountains. It all came through tacit knowledge. That is where we're going to make the difference. And I will come to that. There are 5 skills that will help us tide over through this and make our skills resilient. Let me move on to that. This is the last slide. These are the 5 C's that we'll have. First is creativity. Human creativity is still not replicable. It will not be replicable. You will come up with new things. Even if you have to instruct the LLM tool to create a picture, you will have to know what the composition of the picture should be. You will have to know the Fibonacci spiral to know what composition is. Sujata knows the Fibonacci numbers very well. I'm not going to delve into that. You'll have to have the communication skills to articulate things. And this is where English has become the coding language of today and the future. You'll have to have critical thinking. Now, this is very important. I'll come back to it. You'll have to have complex problem solving. That is human, and you have to have above all curiosity. The task of education is learning how to learn, learning how to think. This is the task of education. This is something that machines will never be able to do. This is how we stay resilient. One of the things which I would like to dive deep is critical thinking. A lot of people fail to figure out what is critical thinking. So let me end this presentation with a story. This is the story of Stanislav Petrov. On September 26, 1983, during a period of heightened Cold War tensions, Stanislav Petrov, a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Forces, was on duty in the Serpukhov 15 bunker near Moscow. His role was to monitor the Soviet Union's nuclear early warning system, known as OKO, which was designed to detect incoming missile threats On that day, in the early hours, a system suddenly reported the launch of one intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, from the United States, followed by up to 4 more. Under Soviet protocol, which is the automated system, automated dependency, such a detection required an immediate retaliatory nuclear strike. If the US had launched a strike, the default action was to immediately retaliate, launch your own, adhering to the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, MAD. However, Petrov, using his judgment, suspected that the alarm was false. He suspected. He didn't know. His reasoning was that a genuine US first strike would involve hundreds of missiles, not just a handful, as a limited attack made little strategic sense. Additionally, he was aware of past reliability issues with the new detection system and noted the lack of corroborating evidence from ground radar even after several minutes. Petrov chose not to report the alarm up the chain of command, which is a deviation from his procedures, and he can be court-martialed for it. Yet he disobeyed it. Decision went against strict military protocol. Petrov waited for further confirmation that never came. His inaction prevented what could have been a catastrophic nuclear response against the United States and NATO allies. Later investigation revealed that the alarm was indeed a malfunction caused by a rare alignment of sunlight on high altitude clouds over North Dakota, mistaken by satellite systems as missile launches. This is where critical thinking, human judgment plays a very, very important role. Okay, so this brings us to the end of our presentation and saying that, where human judgment will play out. Okay, so the floor is now open for questions. I have crossed my time limit by 5 minutes. I'm so sorry for it. And Manali, my apologies.
No, that's fine.
That was so very insightful, Abhijit, and thank you very much for showing that positive trend. We have so much to look forward to. And as you mentioned, all we have to do is keep the 5 C's relevant, keep learning, and the future will be ours, the younger generation. So thank you so much for all that enriching and thought-provoking talk. I would now hand over to Manali for taking questions from the audience.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir. It was really very thought-provoking, engaging session, and I was just really wondering that the brain part you said. I mean, I also learned so many things from this session, and I'll remember this, forever. Few interesting questions we have received. As you can see on the screen, Sangeeta has written, "How does convergence accuracy impact depth perception and object recognition in autonomous robot vision system?"
Okay, so to summarize this question, it's a very deep technical question. You're not a technical person. So it's about robot vision. Now, will robots have, autonomous robots, will they have vision like human visions? I assume that is something like to do with it. Object recognition. This is something we are still grappling with, which is why autonomous vehicles have still not become popular, despite in the last 5-6 years. With 5G, we thought that autonomous vehicles will become very, very popular. That we have a camera at the top of a vehicle, it spins around, takes a 360-degree view, learns to identify objects and take evasive action, or changes the course. But it's still not there. These are some of the technologies that are still experimented with. You find reports of autonomous vehicles. This brings me to another anecdote. I think it was in the city of Dakota. At the beginning of the automobile revolution, when cars were just coming into being, these internal combustion engine cars, there were only 2 cars in the city of Dakota, and they ended up crashing into each other. So the entire city had 2 cars, and they crashed into each other. I don't know why. So similarly, you find a lot of reports that autonomous vehicles have veered off course. They've hit people, they've gone away, they've changed direction. So we're still not there. Convergence, accuracy, impact, depth perception, etc. These are very, very tough challenges that scientists and technology people are trying to solve. And I think they will solve it, but the timeline is still not clear. I've been hearing about autonomous vehicles for a long time, but autonomous vehicles are still working. Where they are working? They are working in controlled environment. For instance, in an agricultural field, you have autonomous tractors. You have autonomous tractors, they can move around, okay, in a defined space where there is, and they're doing it. Autonomous vehicles are working fine in airports, in a controlled environment. So that is where it is happening. So it's not that it's not happening, but to find autonomous vehicles on your street, to find a taxi which will come up to you to pick you up an autonomous with a driverless car and take you to the airport, I think we're still a little bit far from that. I hope I've answered your question from a technology timeline perspective. But the exact technology I will not be able to explain. Okay. Please
And then
explain what skills. Okay.
next
What skills should
question.
students and
This has been
professionals?
answered, I think, already in the
Yeah,
last slide.
The last
yeah,
slide had answered Maher. A very good question. What skills you should develop your innate skills of
yes,
communication, your innate skill of empathy. Empathy is going to be very, very important. Okay. What is the difference between sympathy and empathy? Sympathy is I feel for you. Empathy is what I want to do something for you. Okay. So that's the difference between sympathy and empathy. You have to develop empathy, and that is going to be very, very. How has growth of LLM impacted business like healthcare and education? There's a huge impact. Huge impact. Education,
yes,
especially, there's a huge impact in two ways. One is that LLM tools are being used to create course material, to create exams, papers, etc., to evaluate submissions of students. But also, it has impacted in the sense that students have started using LLMs without really going through the study material and producing AI generated answer papers.
Answers.
That's a
Definitely.
dangerous. Healthcare, there's a there's a negative example is that people are asking questions about healthcare without going to a doctor, to the LLM
yeah,
tools, and LLM tools are advising them to do a lot of things. Go on this diet, take this medicine, take that medicine, and people are treating it like gospel and going to that. As I said, domain knowledge possessed by the doctor. Go to a doctor. Don't use an LLM tool for your healthcare needs. Okay?
Absolutely.
Don't ever use it. It's a risky
Yeah,
thing to do. Fine.
absolutely.
Question. Rick, I do not know whether I've been able to answer, or is that your question? Okay, fine. Emmanuel. Okay. Can automation dependency used for airlines help in the coming? And the automation dependency is very, very risky,
Yes.
as I have said. You can
Absolutely.
have automation, but a human in the loop will always be necessary.
yeah,
Automation in a controlled environment will be possible, but to say things with a certainty is is not a wise thing to do, because they do not know the development that will happen, which will enable technologies to be so good that that future or autonomous cars, robots. Yes, robots are already there. Autonomous robots are already. If you go to the Boston Dynamics website, you will find a lot of autonomous robots doing. They're packing things in Amazon warehouses. They're packing things, delivering things, etc. They're doing that. But you know, but if you think that you'll get a household robot and to do things for you, it can turn around and slap you. I do not know. So better be careful. Yes,
yeah,
use technology, but be in control of that technology is the ruling principle that I have. I use technology, but I have a new phone which is damn good. It's very good at taking pictures, but the problem is it's AI driven. So I want a certain composition, and it tells me no, this composition is not right. You use this composition and use this color. Now I have a tough time trying to override the AI suggestions, and I had switched off the AI so that I could do my own things. Okay,
Yeah,
so
one last question, I think, Manali, we can take.
uh, I mean, this is the these are the four questions. I
Oh,
mean that
okay,
they
good.
have chosen from the back
Okay,
end,
okay.
okay,
and now I just the audience they are waiting, ma'am, to know what is this Wheels Global Foundation, because at the very beginning, as I said, that NDL does this entire show in association with Wheels Global Foundation. If you just let them know about this.
Yeah, sure. So, as Manali said right at the beginning, this whole program is conducted by National Digital Library of India in collaboration with Wheels Global Foundation. This is actually an initiative that was started by the alumni of all the Indian Institutes of Technology in 2006. Actually, it all started from a challenge from our late President, Dr. Abdul Kalam, when in a Pan IIT session in 2006, he had said that you IITians, you have done so well for yourself. Now, why don't you do something to solve the problems of rural India? And that is when many of the alumni from the IITs, they came together to form this Wheels Global Foundation. And since then, we have come a long way, and now our family has expanded its reach to, and now it includes doctors, lawyers, and even other professionals who, with, and all of us work together to provide solutions to the genuine problems of the community. Our objective is simply to engage the IIT system and alumni networks to drive technology based solutions, technology, which is our strength, to use apply technology to solve the problems of India. And what we cover all the areas of water, health, energy, education, livelihoods, and sustainability, which are basically all the factors that touch our life to arrive at the solutions. It was started in US first, registered as a non-profit organization in the US in 2013, and later on in India in 2016. We are all volunteers here, okay, and all we do is we aim to do whatever we can in the smallest bit that we can contribute towards giving back to the nation. And anybody here, if any of you are interested, please feel free to reach out to us, and if you would like to participate in our projects in giving back to the society, you're most welcome. With that, I hand it over back to Manali.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, as you all know, that our time is very short. So, thank you so much, sir, for this engaging session. And Sujata Di, thank you so much again. My heartfelt thanks to you for arranging everything on behalf of Wheels Global Foundation. And thank you, all my viewers and my target audience, to be with us for making this session so wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
thank
very
you.
much, Manali. We also enjoyed being here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And thanks.
Vijay. Yep.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Will I sign off?
Yeah.